In this video, we are going to take a look at the first step of cell respiration, which is the process of taking sugar made by plants and turning it into ATP, which is energy then that the cell can use. Now, cell respiration is going to take place in 3 steps. Our first step, which we talked about in class today, is glycolysis. If we just look at our roots, glyc or glyco, this represents sugar. And then if we look at the rest of our root, lys or lysis, this means to break down. So literally our first step in cell respiration means to break down sugar, and that's exactly what we're going to see. Now sugar, our formula, C6H12O6, made by plants, can then be broken down by plants, or it's going to be consumed by animals, which then this sugar is then going to be broken down into energy. Now glucose is going to be our first part of glycolysis. We have sugar, and this is going to be found in the cytosol of the cell. So this is just free-floating. It is not inside of our mitochondria, which is the organelle where cell respiration takes place. So this is the water matrix outside of those cell organelles. So anyway, glucose, step 1, is going to be broken down into 2 molecules of G3P. And we're just going to use these abbreviations here. We don't need to know that it's the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. We can just go with abbreviations. Now the way that we see glucose turning into 2 molecules of G3P is there's going to be energy in the form of ATP is going to come in, and it's going to help break this down. If ATP is used, this turns into ADP. One of these phosphates off of the ATP is going to go to this G3P over here. We see a second molecule of ATP is going to be used and turns into ADP. And again, that phosphate is going to come over here. So step 1, sugar is going to be broken down into G3P with a little bit of ATP being used. ADP is going to be produced. Now this G3P needs to be further broken down into pyruvate or pyruvic acid before it can go on to the next step of cell respiration, which is going to be the Krebs cycle. Now it doesn't matter which G3P we break down. I'm just going to go ahead and do the one on the left here. G3P is going to be further broken down into pyruvate or pyruvic acid. We could use either term. So anyway, to get from G3P to pyruvate or pyruvic acid, we see electrons are going to be taken from G3P. In glycolysis, our electron carrier molecule is NAD+. NAD's going to come and grab these electrons, and it turns into NADH. NADH is going to take these electrons, and it's going to leave and go to the third part of cell respiration, which is the ETC, or the electron transport chain. Our final step to get G3P into pyruvate is we see 2 ADP are going to come in, and they're going to store some energy, and this is going to make 2 ATP. Same exact thing is going to happen on this side to this G3P. We're going to see it's going to be modified into pyruvate by our bus driver, NAD+, coming and stealing those electrons, turns into NADH, and this is going to take those electrons to the electron transport chain in the cristae of the mitochondria. And then we see 2 ADP are going to come in, they're going to store energy, and they're going to turn into 2 ATP. And this is our really simplified steps of glycolysis. So if we just walk through this again, our first step, we have sugar. It's going to be broken down into 2 G3Ps. Process of breaking it down requires some energy is going to come in. Energy is going to be used, so ATP will turn into ADP. Same thing's going to happen over here. Energy is going to be needed to make this G3P, so ATP turns into ADP. both of these G3Ps are going to be broken down in the same way. NAD plus is going to be our bus driver. It steals electrons off a G3P and turns into NADH, heads to the ETC. Then 2ADP come in, and they're going to store energy and turn into ATP. This then is going to make pyruvate.